Students, this is Bharti Pamar, PGT English, working in Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan. And today again we are going to discuss the poem An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum. Written by Stephen Spender, a famous socialist, pacifist, poet, essayist from England. This poem talks about the themes of social injustice and class inequalities. In the previous session, we learned that what kind of children studied in the slum classroom, and we learned that how they were diseased, malnutritioned, they were exhausted, dull, and they were in a hopeless situation. Today we will talk about the classroom in which they study, because the poem is basically about the elementary school classroom. So what kind of classroom was there? Where did they sit? Where did they study? This is stanza number 2. I will read it out for you firstly. Then we will go through a small Pictionary through which we will come to know what some of the phrases are trying to convey in the stanza, and then we will take up the content line by line. So here it goes. On sour cream walls, donations. Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome riding all cities. Belled, flowery Tyrolese valley. Open-handed map awarding the world its world. And yet, for these children, these windows, not this map, their world, where all their futures painted with a fog, a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of words. Students, this stanza explains that what kind of classroom was there in which the slum children would sit and try to gain education. From the very first line, we come to know that the classroom was filled with donations. Donations are the things received through charity. So let's see what some of the phrases mean through a small Pictionary. The sour cream walls. Sour cream means very unpleasant, kind of off-white, creamish color walls. And these walls show the degradation. The degradation from the bright white color to off-white and then finally to creamish color, becoming very dirty and unpleasant. Then there was Shakespeare's portrait in the classroom, written as Shakespeare's head. One phrase says, civilized domes riding all cities. Civilized domes, the domes which represent civilization, human development, how we have developed in architecture and civilization, with a clear sky. Cloudless at dawn means clear sky, and clear sky also represents brightness. So in this picture we have this bright world, civilized world, developed world, and it is so different from the previous picture. This one, the children sitting in a slum classroom, a dim classroom, dull classroom, with the unpleasant colors all around, with degradation around them. But then we have this, the civilized domes. Then beautiful valley, the Tyrolese valley, shows the beauty of nature with colors all around, flowers all around, free air all around, and scenic beauty. Then bell-shaped flowers. The poet might be referring to these kind of flowers which are present in the Tyrolese valley. Then the map present in their classroom, the open-handed map, and their futures painted with a fog. Fog represents uncertainty and confusion. We cannot understand what is in front of us, what lies ahead, whether it is something good or bad, whether it is going to be clear or not. It's quite unclear. Nobody knows what lies ahead in a fog. So their futures all painted with a fog. and then narrow streets sealed in with a lead sky. So such narrow streets are very prevalent in the slums, and the sky itself is not clear as mentioned in an earlier picture where there was the bright sky. Then the mentioning of rivers, capes, and stars of words. So the first thing was river. River represents the regular flow, the speed, and the clarity of water, and obviously beauty of nature too. And then we have the capes, the beaches. Beaches are wide, open, the wind flows fastly there. It's so beautiful. The sand and the water together in a unison, they form one of the most beautiful, spectacular scenes of nature. And then we have the stars of words, words that shine like stars. Where are they present? They are present in books. So, as the poet says, that these children are far away from rivers, capes, and stars of words. So, now let us go back to the stanza and try to understand what the poet is trying to convey. On sour cream walls, donations. So, when we look at the classroom, the first thing we notice is that on the walls we can see various donations, things received through charity. These children cannot afford to prepare projects and all. Whatever they have, they receive it from those who are capable enough. And what are these things present in their classroom? The first thing, Shakespeare's head. Shakespeare's head here means the portrait hanging on the wall. Shakespeare, as we all are aware, the famous English dramatist, he represents English language. English language which is very elite, polished language. And these children are far away from English language, higher education, literary knowledge, represented by William Shakespeare. So here we see a contrast. We have William Shakespeare, his portrait hanging in their classroom, and these children are unaware of that person. They don't know him. They cannot relate to him. So Shakespeare's head was there, representing knowledge, representing English language. The children are far away from both. Then there is another scenery, maybe cloudless at dawn. There is a scene and cloudless sky, and it is dawn, that is the morning time when the sun rises. And what else can be seen? The civilized dome, the dome shaped, semi-spherical shaped buildings riding all cities. These huge, humongous, semi-spherical shaped buildings are so tall that they represent human civilization at its best. And these are the buildings that are actually riding the cities. These buildings are responsible for the continuous development of the cities. So the cities, why they are growing so much? Because they have such buildings in them that keep on going with the cash flow. They keep on growing the economy. So that scenery is there in their classroom, hanging on the wall, where we can see the sun rising, and it's a clear, bright sky, and these civilized domes are present. The civilized domes which represent economic flourishing, economic growth. So again the contrast, the children study in dim classroom, the children live in polluted slums, and in front of them in their classroom there is that cloudless at dawn scenery. Secondly, the children are aware from the economic growth, aware from the human civilization also, the human architecture also. But the picture depicting human civilization, economic growth, as well as beautiful architecture was present in their classroom. How can they relate to that picture too? Then coming to the next one, belt flowery Tyrolese valley. This one presents the beauty of nature. In their classroom, there is a beautiful scenery presenting the Tyrolese Valley, which is present in the Alpine province of Austria. Austria, they might have never heard of that place. They do not know whether such a place exists or not. But the beautiful scenery from that area was present in their classroom. And there were flowers all around, many of them bell-shaped flowers which they have never seen. These children who have never seen the beauty of nature, whose entire life was spent in those congested, small, polluted, dirty slums. They haven't seen anything beyond the slums. But in their classroom was present that scenic beauty, something that they cannot even imagine whether such a place exists or not. Then the poet says that in their classroom there is an open-handed map awarding the world its world. This particular phrase here means that there are so many opportunities present in the world. The world is so big. It is so civilized. It is so wide. It has so many opportunities for everybody. You only have to get out. Once you go out in the society, once you go out into the world, you have many chances with the help of which you can grow socially, economically, personally. In their classroom is present a world map, a map which is there as if with open hands, that you can come over and get whatever you wish, that you can come over and achieve whatever you want to. So there is an open-handed map welcoming everyone with open arms, awarding the world its world. The map awards the world whatever they wish for. They only have to work hard. The person who is ready to work hard, the person who is dedicated, the person who has facilities and some support can win the entire world. So such opportunities, such a window, a communicative medium was present in their classroom. Yet these children are far away from all such opportunities, were far away from having the dream of any kind of achievement. They could not locate the slum. The slum is not present in the map. So the open-handed maps show the vastness of the world, how big it is, how diverse it is, how open it is. But for these children, there is no scope available. So these are the wall hangings in their classroom. Shakespeare presenting knowledge, the language English. Then we have the picture showing the civilization, human economic growth, the best of human architecture. Then they have the beauty of nature in the form of Tyrolese Valley. And then the entire world map with all its opportunities. But surprisingly, all these donations were far away from the children and their present situation. And that is what the poet says. And yet, for these children, these windows, not this map, their world. So even if you have Shakespeare from England, Tyrolese Valley from Austria, you have the entire map in front of them. But for these children, what is their world? Their world exists outside their classroom windows. They live in the slums, far away from the world of Shakespeare, far away from the civilization of human society, far away from the beauty of nature, and far away from that vast open world. They exist in the slums, amidst the garbage, devoid of every human necessary amenity that should be given to them, away from that higher education that should be available to them. So their world exists outside the windows in the slums, where all their futures painted with a fog, and their future exists inside the slum. But their future is as unclear as that of fog. They don't know whether what will happen to them, whether they will achieve any success in their life or not, whether they will be healthy adults or not, whether they will be educated people in future or not. Everything is uncertain as that of fog. So their futures painted with a fog. A narrow street sealed in with a lead sky. It appears as if their life is a narrow street, like the narrow streets of the slum, sealed in, covered, completely covered with a lead sky. So here lead sky not only represents the polluted sky present around them, but because that polluted sky covers up the brightness and it is so dark. Now imagine the narrow street, there are no sideways, you can only walk on that particular street and it is very not narrow. And when you look up also for some kind of openness, nothing is visible because everything is sealed in. It's completely packed. So from all the sides, that child is packed. He has no escape. He cannot run off to any other place. He has to keep walking on that narrow street of slum. And even if he wants to jump and go out, there is that lead sky covering his opportunities. So it's a metaphor that the narrow street not only represents the narrow streets present in the slum, but also the way of life present in front of the child living in the slum. And the lead sky is not only the lead sky, the polluted sky, but also it's a covering, it's packing up of all the opportunities. And these children are far, far away from rivers, capes, and stars of words. So the children are far away from the beauties of nature, may it be the flowing, ever flowing, clear and beautiful rivers, may it be the wide, vast and wonderful beaches, or the books, the stars of words. So surprisingly, the children studying in the slum classroom are encountering many things in their classroom. May it be knowledge in form of Shakespeare, may it be civilization, may it be the beauty of nature, or may it be the entire world in front of them. But they cannot look at them. They cannot relate to them. They have to live in slums and their life becomes congested, packed inside the slum. They cannot get out of it, even if they want. So this is how the poet represents the situation inside the classroom and the situation of the children outside the classroom. Outside the classroom, in the slums, and how they are completely locked inside, as if you are locked inside a coffin when you are covered from all the sides. In the same manner, the narrow street sealed in with a lead sky represents that how the child is completely covered and trapped from all the sides and there is no way out. Okay, so this is how I explain it. You may have a different explanation. That's how poetry is. Coming to the figures of speech. The first phrase, sour cream walls. Here the poet has used metaphor. So how dirty or unpleasant were the walls? As unpleasant as that of sour cream. There was another metaphor used by the poet in the form of lead sky. So the sky was not lead, but it appeared to be filled with lead, that is the polluted sky. Then there is assonance, this figure of speech too. Assonance, ASSONANCE. What is it? Repetition of a vowel sound. Where did it happen? In the phrase belled, flowery, Tyrolese valley. there is that repetition of that sound of E again and again. So when that happens, the figure of speech is assonance. Then again, far, far from, the same figures of speech used earlier, repetition, far, far, and then alliteration in the form of far, far from when the sound of F is repeated. So now you can understand the difference between alliteration and assonance. What happens in alliteration? In alliteration, the sound of consonant word, the consonant is repeated, and when that happens, we have alliteration. But when the repetition of a vowel sound is there, we have assonance. And then there is one more figure of speech, allusion. ALLUSION. Allusion means reference to a famous personality or a famous place. Like here what happened, that the poet used Shakespeare, and he also used Tyrolese Valley, which are real people and real places. So with this, I close the explanation of stanza number 2 from elementary school classroom in a slum, and after this we will take up stanza number 3. Thank you.